Hi, everybody. My name's Karen. I am a compulsive eater, and I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the gray sheet, committed to my sponsor, don't eat between meals, no matter what, and keep my abstinence in my program first. 9/5/21 is my abstinence date. Thanks, Stacy, for, I guess it should be Kim, and she had a cohort that was helping her twist my little plastic arm. Anyway, I'm very glad to. I just did one last night on the phone bridge. I did a share. Um, so let me tell you what it was like. I have been a compulsive eater my entire life. It was one of the primary forms of comfort and security and stabilization in my home. And I got into drugs, not alcohol, because I don't like to be drunk, but I did like to be high. And I was one of the fat heroin addicts. There weren't a lot of them around, but I imagine there's a few in this room. Most people, look like they're a breath away from death, and that's not how I look. And my weight would, I tried all the different things that people try, not really until I got into high school. And I started trying one thing at a time, like eating just one substance or doing just this, or all of it about trying to control the amount of food that I put in my body. I was and would be a volume eater. I don't know what that is. I've never really looked into it, but for me, eating as much as possible until I'm not even enjoying it anymore because I'm so full. But it's that inability to stop, and that's how it was for me. I could not stop once I got started. I did different programs. I think my highest weight was a little over 300. My lowest weight that I got doing OA was in the 150s, and it was a normal weight for me. I looked fine at that. And that was my first exposure to anything that really worked, was in OA. And I believe the sponsor I had in OA did Gray Sheet. This is back in the early 90s and late 80s, because I had to weigh and measure all of my food, and I could only eat at meals. And I did that right up until August 18th or July 18th, 1995, when my husband died. And the day after he died, literally the day after, I went to I always feel stupid saying this, the Cluck Cluck place where you buy buckets of Cluck Cluck. That sounds so dumb for me, but whatever. Anyway, and I bought buckets and I started eating, and I ate and I ate and I ate and I ate and I ate, and I didn't gain weight right away, which was very deceiving for me. And then eventually, of course, the weight started getting packed on, and I got way up in the high 200s again. And I stayed there with some attempts to do something, and mostly no success. And August 15th of 2003, a woman I had worked with, I think she might be dead by now, so I can say this, came into my work, and I didn't care for her when I worked with her. I don't think she cared for me either. It wasn't like we were pining to be BFFs or anything. But she came in and she had lost weight, and I asked her what she was doing, because once I saw that you had actually found something that worked, I wanted that. I didn't care if I liked you or not. It was irrelevant. That was second. And so she told me that she was doing Gray Sheet. And ironically, that morning, I had been sitting in my car. It was August 16th in 2003. It was hot here in Oregon. I was in the Salem area, And I had on a black, one of those tent dresses, and I was chafed in every place that you should not be chafed. And I was sitting in the car and I said to God, I don't even want to ask for any help because I am so afraid to fail. And that was the end of that. That was my prayer that morning. I just couldn't take another failure. And uh, and I went in and there she was, of all the people that could have shown up, her. And I started Gray Sheet August 16th. And I could tell immediately within a week that something had changed for me, that this craving, this compulsion, because of what I know now, was because I wasn't eating grains and sugar. And for me, fat is a combination in that one, and the carbohydrates that are man-made. But carbs, fat, sugar, and grains, that combination, that's my drug. And so I got on Gray Sheet, and I think I had a day one for putting a white substance in my coffee. I probably had a day one about that about a dozen times. And and there was some things I just couldn't surrender, and I don't know why. I don't really care why, but I eventually got there. In 2000, and I want to say 14 or 15, I was playing around with, and I really watch this now because I have a strong belief in the 12 steps, and I didn't think Gray Sheet did the steps strong enough. And there was this food program that was primary purpose OA, and they did the steps. I learned more about the steps from that group of women than I had in all the years I was in recovery, actually. They were very dedicated to it. But what happened was I made a decision to leave Gray Sheet. I still have the email I sent to my sponsor. And I left for almost 2.5 years, and I gained 140 pounds during that time. And the gal that was with me, and there was 12 of us in that group, and we went to Texas. We did service work. I mean, I learned more about 10, 11, and 12. I mean, I really had a solid working of the steps, and it didn't do jack for my eating. Because once I had those substances, I don't care how much I pray I'm going to eat. So that was the beginning of my demise, so to speak. So there was 2 of us that gained weight, and the other 10 stayed a normal weight and ate within moderation. And this is what I learned from that, is I have to know who I am. It doesn't matter who anyone else is. I have to know who I am. And I did learn that. And during that time, I had my abdomen got so huge, and I had a bleed, not an internal bleed, but an external bleed, and ended up hospitalized. And they did surgery, and it was a year. I was really, really sick. Holy smoke! They resuscitated me twice. Dr. McBee told Lisa, she's got to lose this weight or it's going to kill her. I couldn't do microscopic surgery to fix this. I had to open her up. I got pneumonia. It was just awful. And he said to me, Karen, I don't want you eating anything unless we give it to you, because it can rupture the surgery that we just did. And once I was able to walk, I was walking around with a walker trying to find food. And when I found it, I ate it with tears running down my face because I couldn't not eat. And I was the vice president of a company. I was in a loving relationship. I was successful in every area of my life, and I have never felt more alone than I did that day. And that was, I didn't get back into Gray Sheet until October of that year. And what the person that was working with me on the steps, we went through the steps rapidly several times when I was able to live again. And what she said to me is, Karen, you need to go sit down and ask God what to do, because you are beyond human aid. And I remember sitting down, I was working in Eugene, 5 minutes, thanks. Sitting down in Eugene, and I sat down in that chair. It was a Tuesday night, and I asked my higher power, what do I do? And I knew as clear as day that I needed to get back to Gray Sheet. And there was a Back to Basics phone bridge meeting then, and I got on that. And that was, and I haven't left since. I've had day one since then. But there's a couple of things I decided. One is what I think you think is none of my business. That's the first thing. Because if I think you think that I'm that blah, blah, then I'll make decisions to do certain things like leave. I'm not doing that. I figure the only requirement for Gray Sheet membership is a desire to stop eating compulsively. That is the only thing you need to be in these rooms. And I'm not going to allow my shame to drive me out. That's just not going to happen. Is that easy? No, I'm thinking I could have, I have over 40 years in AA. Why can't I get over 5 years in here? I don't know. Maybe it keeps me humble. I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is that it is what it is. So, what's the big things I've learned in Gray Sheet is don't leave, know who you are, get a group of people that get to know you and would notice if you were missing. Do service work, but not so much that you're crazy. I've done that, not helpful. As a matter of fact, it makes you crazy. And then I would feel guilty because I wasn't doing as much as everybody else. Now I finally decided, yeah, do what you need to do. I don't care. And I'll do what I need to do. I have to take care of myself. So really, and then have delicious food. Every now and then, this has happened in Gray Sheet for me. Every now and then my food doesn't taste good, and I don't know why. I fix something and it's okay, but it doesn't, I don't know if I want it to be an event or I've lost my taste buds for it because I tend to eat the same thing, and then one day I don't want it anymore. I was on a roll with something, and Lisa texted last night from the store, do you want me to get you some of these? And I said no, because I knew I'm done with that. But I've told her, don't buy my food because I could be done and you're still buying it. So I don't eat any vegetable that's not perfect. I know that some people eat vegetables, my wife does, that have little soft spots. I don't. I eat 3 meals a day and it's going to be the best food. I don't care. I'm not eating crappy food for anybody. I've traveled all over Europe and stayed abstinent. There's all kinds of ways to stay abstinent. So the service work I like is I did this secretary or whatever you call it, led this meeting for a couple years. I like working on, we have a retreat that happens here in Oregon. This will be the 3rd year coming up now in July. There's nothing better than sitting in a room full of people who are like me, weighing food just like me. That is an experience. If you haven't had it, you must not miss, because it is life-changing. And so I think that's really it. I'm very grateful to be abstinent today. And I look forward to everybody's shares, no matter what.